There's too much.
So there have to be options,
Okay, so I'll take a pragmatic approach to this if I can. The way that I'm recommending you read these two resolutions is that both revocation and potential sale is subject to confirming it's not required as part of the Greenways network. That's simply what I've tried to achieve by putting it in both of them. So if it fails at that test, it fails in both counts. So if it's simply put, I think you can take both together. You wouldn't be intending to revoke reserve status if you weren't also intending to sell, and you're not looking to do either of those if we'll also need it for a greenway. I've contacted Mace Ward on that matter. The person that knows about this is in Wellington today, so they can't get back to me. So the effect of this resolution allows you, should you vote for it, to proceed subject to getting that one piece of information, which I'll make available to you as soon as possible. So that's my recommendation, how you handle this.
Okay, Councillor Casey's asked that it be put in parts.
No, I thought you were putting the whole...
No. This is just the Nihil Crescent Mission Bay.
A and B.
So it's A and B, and then C is the Papatawi one. So we'll take the vote.
Councillor Anai.
Aye.
Councillor Brewer.
For.
Councillor Casey.
No.
Councillor Cashmore.
Yes.
Councillor Clow.
Yes.
Councillor Cooper.
For.
Councillor Darby.
Against.
Councillor Filipina.
Aye.
Councillor Fletcher.
For.
Councillor Crum.
For.
Councillor Lee.
No.
Member McDonald.
Aye.
Councillor Penrose. Or. Councillor Quacks.
Or.
Councillor Sir John Walker.
Or.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
No.
Councillor Watson.
No.
Member Wilcox.
Yes.
Yes. It's been carried 14-5, so that's been carried. Now we move to the next property is in Burwood Avenue, Papatawi.
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair. And very, very briefly, this is a landlocked property that's been encroached on by an adjoining landowner. I'm very sorry I didn't have any other pictures, but I couldn't access it in any way because there's a fence built over the back of the property and there was no driveway access to it. So I didn't want to be climbing over what looked like a residential fence around a section to get a photo of what happens to be council land. But it is currently reserve. It's 349 square metres. As I mentioned, the adjoining landowner has encroached on it and it was vested in the Papatawi Borough Council as road reserve. Again, as a reserve, it would need to go through the reserve revocation process if the disposal is to take place. I'd just like to clarify a point that came up during the debate as well, that proceeds of sale from any reserve in accordance with the Reserves Act 1977 must be used by council to either acquire or maintain existing reserves. So when we are revoking reserves and disposing of reserves that have little public benefit, there is actually a public good outcome that does occur in the proceeds of sale needing to be used towards acquiring or maintaining other reserves. Any questions on 12R Birdwood Avenue?
No questions? Member Wilcox?
Looking at I've got a couple of questions. The first one is looking at the adjoining properties. Looks like one property has kind of claimed it. Yes. We're not creating a drama for the other one, are we, by flogging it off to one or the other? We think
that would be something that would have to be worked through, and if necessary, the council's enforcement team would have to be brought in.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because that, I mean, that's, to me, that's a little bit of a concern that we may be dealing with one side and not the other in that situation.
We would have to work with both landowners.
So we may have to do the Auckland transport thing and split it down the middle, is that the go?
It would be up to our disposals team to work through the best way under delegations, best way to actually deal with this property. We'd have to take it on the circumstances, and I can only surmise what they may be at the moment.
Yeah, because one of the adjoining landowners is a Māori, so that's why I'm asking that question. Number 2, Maori's Strategy and Relations Team. Who's that? Did they flag any issue, or did they come back to you? Or
Sorry, just whereabouts?
page 21,
Item 7.
in number 7, internal consultation. Are we talking about the Waka Angamua, or is this another group?
Sorry, I've got the name of the person on the top of my head, but I can't remember the exact name of the department where the owner works.
It's not the Waka.
No.
It's not the Waka Angamua
No,
group.
no.
So we have another group that deal with this.
Sorry, I'll clarify the exact group when I get back into the office, and I'll send you an email. Sorry, I know exactly the person that we normally deal with, and my mind has literally gone blank on this one. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. But I would like that clarified, because how many Maori groups have we got in council?
Too many.
So why don't
Okay,
we-
thank you.
That's the end of that.
So look,
As long as our membership
what we're
says-
wondering if that isn't the English translation of Te Waka Angamua.
Yeah. No, it's
Not the translation, but the...
going forward.
The equivalent?
I don't know.
Okay, so Councillor
It's
Casey.
definitely,
Clarify,
sorry, just
yeah.
to clarify, it's definitely not. It's another unit, but I just can't recall the name off the
Okay.
top of my head.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
It's a
Thank you.
new
Power
unit.
to them.
Sorry, council departments keep changing their names at the moment. Hard to keep up.
Councillor Casey.
This isn't being, we're not recommending selling it to the adjoining landowner as part of this recommendation. We're just recommending divestment.
Yeah.
That being the case, how do we get the land for sale unencroached?
We'd have to approach the landowner. In this instance, the person who's currently encroached on the land would be the most likely person to purchase the land, and we have been in contact with them, and they are interested in actually purchasing the land. So that's still a process that needs to be worked through.
It's a process I'm interested in. There are thousands of pieces of land that we own that have been encroached. And it's almost like sitting tenants' rights. You're saying to this person, because you're on it, we're going to sell it to you. Whereas, I think Glenn Wilcox raised the issue of the other adjoining landowner. So shouldn't we have a policy that when we're divesting a piece of land, it's unencroached or unencumbered, or however you want to put it in English?
Well, there's a lot of, and I think Councillor Penrose may back me up on this. There's, in different parts of Auckland, there's a lot of properties that were formed as access ways on reserve that have never been developed, that landowners are encroached on. People have often brought it not realising that they were actually encroached on the land, and they come to council in good faith wanting to legalise a situation, and I don't think as a group would want to be punitive towards those who are trying to legalise a situation where they're illegally encroaching on council land by saying it must be unencroached. I think
Incentivising grabbing parkland.
Order. Councillor Lee, I don't think that was really helpful.
It is, I believe it's incentivising grabbing parkland.
Councillor Lee.
There's a real problem out there. We need to...
Councillor Lee.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
We run these meetings to a standard set of rules under standing orders, and I don't think that means that councillors can just make utter statements at their whim.
Mr. Chairman, it was an interjection.
Well, I don't think...
An old democratic tradition.
Well, I think if you continue, well, we'll have to ask you to desist and leave the meeting because you can't just make utterances like that, please. But anyway,
But it's true.
well, Councillor Casey's got the floor, and if we're going to take value from what you're saying, you've got to respect what the standing orders of the meeting really say. Thank you, Councillor Casey.
I kind of like some, maybe just an opinion from if there's any lawyer in the room with regard to this, because it does seem to me that we're not actually offering it to the market. We're only, if someone's encroached so heavily as this site, then it's not free of encumbrance. Therefore, we can't get the best deal here.
Sorry, if I could just clarify. So there's a couple of points. First of all, sometimes due to the size and shape of a property, it could only be sold to an adjoining landowner. In other instances, it can go to the market. On something of this size, and I believe given the zoning and given the shape of it, it couldn't go on the market. It would need to go to an adjoining landowner just because of the particulars of the site. When we can go to market, we do, but regardless of the outcome, we go through a very robust valuation process so that market price is paid. Just because someone's encroached on land doesn't mean it's gifted to them in any way. Council, as you know, doesn't gift land. There's been several instances where we are asked to do that for a variety of situations. It never happens. That's Council's policy. We don't gift land.
Thanks for that answer, but back to my question, which was, it concerns me that because someone has encroached, they have more right to the land than, say, the other property owner on the other side who might also want it, and it was a question raised by Glenn.
Well,
so I'm interested in whether we're doing this in the best possible way.
No, I think the officer's actually answered that because she indicated that it would the other possibility would be for an adjoining landowner to buy it, but she also qualified that by saying that we would want a financial consideration for the sale, and it would mean that we would obviously sell it to get the best price for that bit of land. So, and they're obviously looking at the map. I can see the more than one adjoining landowner. So that's where we really are, Councillor Casey. Thank you. You got any other questions?
No, I'm still puzzling over it,
Okay,
George, to
well,
be
we'll
honest.
think- okay,
It
think
doesn't, we're recommending it for divestment, not for sale to the adjoining owner.
Okay. Councillor Wayne Walker.
I don't think we're allowing that.
And, sorry, just through the chair, I do keep the resolutions as general as possible based on advice from Council's Legal Services Department. If there's very, very specific wording in a resolution, it can sometimes mean that Council's bound by the conditions of that. So, based on legal advice, I keep the resolutions very general.
Councillor Wayne Walker.
Yep, just a quick question. The properties each side, 15A and 20, they're both residential properties?
They are.
Thank you. Councillor Watson.
Yeah, just a quick question on this matter of encroachment. I didn't realise it was quite as widespread as it appears to be. I know of instances where the encroachments are relatively minor, 15, 20 square metres. In instances such as this, where you've got 350 square metres, is a pretty reasonable size encroachment. And I would suggest in instances such as that, just by the sheer configuration of the sections that are in subdivisions such as this, there's no misunderstanding. People know exactly that they've got land that they're not entitled to. Would that be a fair assessment to be make of this particular property?
I couldn't comment on what potential landowners may or may not think of the situation.
So I guess the point I'm making, Mr Chair, that there's a big difference between someone accidentally or unknowingly having a small amount of land that they were unaware of and someone who's perhaps been quite calculated and just taking over land. That's an entirely undesirable precedent and a very bad look for council to then to be disposing of that land to them. I mean, that might not necessarily go to our decision here today, but in terms of public perception, that is not a good look for land that has been acquired illegally and a sizable amount then being offered back to those people for sale.
At a discount.
That's not the way to
Thank
do
you.
it.
Councillor Penrose.
Cronyism.
I just want to say, Mr Chair, you articulated it perfectly before, Letitia in the past has done an outstanding job in regards to dealing with these matters that's come before us before. And I can say in the South we've had it numerous times, so you articulated it extremely well, Mr Chair. So
thank you, Councillor Penrose. Look, I'm going to put C and D. They've been moved. Councillor Philippine has moved it, seconded by Councillor Penrose. I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
No. Recorded.
Recorded.
Okay, I declare that carried. On the
Record my
voices.
name against, please.
Lee, Casey and Watson require their votes. Sorry? Okay, we'll have a 5-minute break then, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Councillors.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Letitia. Thank you. These are never simple.